I am very excited to share with you that we have a wonderful panel of 3 community leaders who I will be asking to provide us with insight into what is important to them when forming relationships with government and tips that they have for us in doing that work. For our second question for the panelists, and I'll start with Atiqullah this time. How can government community relations be improved? If you have an example of a government community partnership that has worked well, please share that with us. Atiqullah.
Thank you. So I have a good example from the state of California, that in California, they have eats on the calendar off for the students and the people that they are working in the official offices. And I think there is a wide separate public recognition for the holidays. And I think it's important for the government to understand some basics about our culture. And to be connected with the leaders, this will help us to share where where the issue or concern is in our community. For example, right now the biggest concern for the Afghan community is the burial sites for the community members. We also have a case where a community member was a victim of murder, and there has been limited investigation and information shared with the families and community. In these cases, it would be great if we would know who to contact or try to get direction or where to go to solve our issues. And also in some states in the DMVs, the permit tests are available in Dari and Pashto languages. These are the spoken languages for Afghanistan. But unfortunately, in North Carolina, we don't have the permit tests available in Pashto and Dari languages for Afghans. And we would like to see our language, and it's very important and to be considered that most of the Afghan members, when they come to the United States, they don't read and write English. If at least they can get an interpreter or the DMV or other offices. Thank you.
Norbert, we'll go to you next with the same question. How can government community relations be improved? And if you have an example of a government community partnership that has worked well, please share with us.
Murakoze cyane.
Thank you very much. As I told you, our community, they don't know about being part of the school board, is knowing what our children eat at school. It's knowing how the budget for the school, the program for the schooling. It's knowing how our kids go through the ESL. The community doesn't understand that volunteering to the city, it's knowing what the city is planning. So the first thing is to get our community getting involved in different activities where they live. For example, I'm going to give you an example. When I got here, I arrived in Portland, Maine. There was one immigrant community who was a board member at a high school. He was just a volunteer. So because he loved immigrant children, he brought together our immigrant kids and Jewish kids and Palestinian kids, and our kids met and explained their issues. And from there, he became one of the school board members. And after that, he went from being a school member, he became he went to the council of the city of Portland. And 10 years later today, now we have council members, immigrant council members in 3 cities in the state of Maine. Now they have a state representative, an immigrant, which means all the issues of the immigrant community, they are the one who take them to the leadership and plead for them. So which means all our problems, we are not a second class citizens, now only being people who need help. Now we are people who serve and help others to from the volunteering to the state leadership. Now all the local government is doing, they just come to ask us to vote. They try to influence our votes, but the day they will let us be part of the community, the leadership will know who are we going to vote and what is going to do for the American community and also for the immigrant community. For me, I think encouraging the immigrant community to get into leadership positions, volunteering, it's the true integration, and that's what we need. We have a lot of kids who are educated, but we have the problem, the other problem we have big families, and because the landlord does not want to give us a place to stay our families, either in Durham or in Chapel Hill, we have that problem. They don't want the immigrant community to rent their house, while the immigrant community they don't have a problem in paying rent. So we want the leadership to help us with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Norbert. Many great points. Thank you. And Sandra, we'll turn to you to answer the same question.
Gracias, claro que sí. Ok, primero que yo siempre he creído que el proceso de integración es como toda relación, es un proceso de...
Thank you. I've always have seen that this is a two-way street, of course, like a marriage. If people don't put in the necessary support and see it both ways, the communication, you know, I already talked a little bit about the cultural differences and how it takes to build, what it takes to build a strong integrated community. I've always come from this philosophy that you have to give in order to receive. And, you know, I like when the government gives us grants and changes certain policies. And when they make that effort, we also have to give back too. An example of that, something that we always do at El Puente, is that every year we invite all the first responders or emergency responders to come and share a meal. We have tacos and Puerto Rican food. We set up tables outside and we invite all the emergency or first responders, and we connect with Concord because that's where we're based. And it's something where we don't have any speeches, we don't have any hidden agendas. We're just there to share with our communities, and it's a fabulous event. Also, communication how I mentioned earlier, the importance of communication and getting to where people are, not expecting everyone to come to City Hall to see them. For example, you know, the city of Concord wanted to do a presentation about fair housing, and sometimes, you know, those are boring, and they wanted to do that virtually as well. So they contacted me to help promote it, to share information about this event. And I listened to it for a few minutes. It was a video that they wanted us to share. And I suggested doing it in person. And I said, let's do it at a place where people feel comfortable, where they trust. And we had food, and it turned into a party. And it was such a success. And then, as I mentioned too, about making residents feel welcome and respected, that is so important. We have an international festival and want to be able to integrate our leaders in our own events. A great example, last Sunday, there was an organization that celebrated El Grito, kind of celebration for independence of Mexico. And there were a lot of white leaders here at this event. We invited commissioners, different agencies, city council, and we had mariachis, we had tacos, we had banda music, and they loved it. They got to learn a little bit more about the community and our culture, and also meet the leaders in our communities too. And you know, the main problem of connection with community and the government is the language, the difference in languages. And it's a really clever way. And a really clever way to connect with the Latino community is to connect with the kids. The kids and the children of immigrant communities, Latino communities speak English. So it's great to connect with the different committees, different support groups. This is such a fabulous way to connect with the community because the kids' parents can learn about the committees that their kids are going to and be able to connect a little bit further. That information is going to be shared from kids to parents, and parents can also be involved and connected. Here in Carrboro County, there is a really awesome program. It's a leadership program where schools select 2 students who are sent to learn all about different areas of the government. And that program has 8 sessions. So they come together, they learn about the different areas of the government, and they want for these leaders to learn about the government and understand what and who the local government is so that they're incentivized to stay here. And of all the kids that participated, 90% of them were immigrants. And even though the families don't speak the same language as the government, kids are finding ways, and the government is finding ways to connect with kids so that connection also happens, that information is shared. And finally, it's important for immigrant communities to be heard and to provide safe spaces where issues and needs can be discussed. I don't think that the government should wait for immigrant families to go and share the issues that they're facing at a city council meeting. That's not going to happen. But the government can go to spaces, they can send different people out to the communities and hear them. And this has happened with the local organizations, or can happen with the local organizations. That's a great way to connect. And that's all I have for now. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sandra, Atiqullah, and Norbert.